link for. It's almost there. It's just setting up Zoom.
It's streaming live now.
Yeah, it's streaming live. Yes. Okay, everyone, welcome. Hold on.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I don't know. I'm just told to hold on. You know, I just take instructions from everyone around me as usual. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Penang, Georgetown. We're not literally in the blue room. We're upstairs from the blue room because all the restaurants in Penang have opened up. And it's mad and crazy downstairs. I think I've said with you, Teong Hin and Deborah, in the blue room downstairs, yeah, many times. We're missing Roysten because of tech issues, and I think he'll be joining us when we can sort out the technical issues. So everyone, let me welcome Deborah. Deborah Wayne Leiser-Moore. We just had a little conversation why that Wayne dropped out. We won't talk about this. And me and her working on a Jewish project at some point.
Yes.
That will cause an international incident. Deborah's from Australia, and Deborah has been to Penang twice. The first time to bring Dead Twins in 2017, and then the second time, Kaboom, Stories from the Distant Front Lines. And I'd met Deborah many times on the circuit, and she's been wanting to bring shows to Penang, but it never worked out. And then attempt number 7 or 6, and it was yes and yes, back to back. And we had a really nice conversation in Melbourne, and I decided that we wanted to have her back and join us and have a chat. And then everybody knows Saw Teong Hin. Now, Teong Hin's story with us goes very interesting. Where do we start? Okay, we started Georgetown Festival in 2010, and I had only 6 weeks to plan. And who do I call? I call Teong Hin. Who else to call when you have such a last-minute festival with no money, although he cost me half of the budget of the whole festival. Yeah, and it's a wonder I didn't go to jail. But it's true. Okay, I'm told to say yes, but we all loved it. That's why we had him back twice. In 2010, we had Emily of Emerald Hill, where he pulled together a show in 6 weeks, which I thought was like amazing. And then in 2012, we did Silat, and we prayed to God because it was an outdoor show. And earlier on, we were talking, and I think later on we'll touch a bit about that. And then in 2014, we did the High Kissing Law, which I think touched so many people in Penang because it's so relevant. It's Penang, it was site-specific, and then after that, he went on to make a film out of it, yeah? So that's Saw Teong Hin. And we're missing Roysten Abel. When he comes on, I will introduce him. Now, I'm not good at this, so the reason why I called you all is because I feel comfortable with you all, and you're going to help me through this, okay? So we'll start with a very easy thing. Where have you been, Deborah, this last 3-4 months lockdown, and which part of the world, and what have you been feeling? Fears, slit wrist, Xanax?
Lucky I don't slit my wrist, and lucky I don't take those pills, but I'm not saying it hasn't been a roller coaster. Definitely been a roller coaster. But just to know, I'm in Melbourne, in Melbourne, in Australia, and basically been in my house for the last 4 months, working from here. But I just want to say a little anecdote, because when this all started, everyone was unsure what's going on, and is this just the flu, or that'll be okay? No, in Australia we're not used to having things happen in this way. And, it's sort of like that. And actually, when it started to explode, there happened to be the performing arts market here in Melbourne. And I remember being in the big space, and there were like people from everywhere around the world, as there would be. And here we are crowded into these spaces, and everyone trying to sell their work overseas. And all of a sudden, we're hearing about, the COVID. And I remember I was standing next to my colleague from South Korea, Shin Sung, who works for a company, or who is the company called Creative Vakti. And he's going, I've got to get back to South Korea. We have to Seoul because, they're closing everything down. And we're all going, what do you mean? What do you mean? It'll be fine. Don't worry. But, the panic already, because there it was already starting to get really bad. So he had to leave. So I just think the irony of having, all these people trying to create all these international relationships or further them, and all of a sudden everything's closing off. So that really kind of hit the head, like, wow, okay, what's going on? He had to leave. People had to leave all of a sudden. So since then, I've been basically at home. You know, so I had a few projects, you know, and I was teaching. I teach actually teach sort of young filmmakers and audio, and we were, you know, in the classroom. All of a sudden, bang, we have to go onto Zoom and teach on Zoom. Like, what is this Zoom? Who knows? You know. So it was like all of a sudden, it was such a shock, you know, to set yourself up. So, and then also the projects that we had, like I, you know, had a number of projects, and of course everything, oh, we'll be fine by, you know, this time, oh, it'll be over by then, and, you know, slowly or quickly, oh, okay, that one's not happening. I'm not going to Sri Lanka because I have a beautiful project I did last year in Sri Lanka. We met in Singapore on the way, Joe. It was really special. Yeah, we had that lovely breakfast together. So I meant to do part 2 of that and expand that into a project. Okay, no. Okay, that's not. Oh, okay, now I'm meant to go to Croatia. Oh, by July, it'll be done. No, broken. Yeah. So then you have to come to the understanding that, you know what, this year is not about that, which is hard for someone like me because I rely on for many reasons, not just for work, but I need that in myself, this whole international exchange, international engagement, because you know, Australia's far away. And at the moment, we really are locked down. We're an island. No one can come in really unless you want to be, you know, you have to be isolated for a couple of weeks, and it's very strict. So all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm really here and I'm stuck here. And, you know, inside myself, I am I think the essential wandering Jew. I need to, you know, I need this of getting out. So it's been a roller coaster of really coming to that realization. Okay, so actually I have to be here. I have to negotiate what it is to be in this one place, and literally, you know. So look, I've managed to do that, managed to teach online, and that's kind of interesting. Have some rehearsals. I've been mentoring a lovely young playwright, and, you know, directing her and online, although we've had a couple of meetings lately because Australia is just starting to open up. However, Australia's opening up, but Victoria has had a number of cases, so we're locking down a bit again. Yeah, which is very interesting because our lockdown is like not a full lockdown. So some suburbs are locked down. So you have a street on one side of the road they're locked down, and on the other side they're not going. You know, I thought it would make an interesting film. But yeah, it has been a roller coaster of realization that in fact, you know, you have to come back to just being and sitting and in one place. So then the kind of person I am is about, okay, not letting that defeat me, because although it has probably at times gone a bit more than, I've been in a sense of defeat more than I have ever in my life. However, I'm the kind of person who goes, okay, now what can I do? And make it happen. So that's really where what I've been doing. So I've made some projects happen. I'm continuing with projects. I've actually, you know, been doing some online lessons, improving my Spanish. But yeah, that's where I've been in St Kilda in Victoria.
I love this. Even CD last night said, I've been this, you know, like we all boxed in. So Teong Hin, have you been in your new flat? I've not been to your new place, but actually I heard great things about it.
For me, it's a little bit different from Deborah, because actually I was just coming off a year of sabbatical, if you like. I took a year off. So I pretty much did some traveling and all that. And just as I was starting to develop projects for 2020, the pandemic happened. So, I mean, very quickly you realize that 2020 is not going to be what you expect it to be. And I decided to just, like, I guess, settle in and see what happens, because nobody, like what Deborah said, nobody really knows what's going on and how it's going to all play out. So there's no point in, I guess, agonizing or anything. So you just go with the flow and try to make sense of something, you know. What I found the first 2 months of the lockdown was bliss. I'm one of those weird. I mean, I love being at home at my place, and without any distraction, I did all the things I've always wanted to do and never did, like wash laundry my curtains, vacuum my mattress, all the things you say, okay, I'm gonna do it next week, and then you never get around to doing it. Yeah, clearing the cabinets, the storeroom, rearranging stuff and all that. So the first 2 months was fantastic. The end of the second month, however, I started to, my mind, because I kind of ran out of things to tidy up and things like that, and movies to watch and all that. So you go like, oh, okay, what am I gonna do for the rest of the time? Because at that stage, we didn't know how long more the lockdown will be. Yeah. So I took part in this meditation group thing, online meditation group thing that really helped me get through it. So again, as I was getting restless at the end of the second month, I joined the group, and then it kind of like calmed me down. And now I'm also, because we are in what we call here RMCO, Recovery Movement Control Order. That means it's partially lifted. So we can go out and do things and all that. So I kind of like, of course, like everybody else, the first couple of times you go mad. You try to catch up with friends, you try to go out to eat, but I found the experience to be really different. I must say, with the social distancing at the restaurants and all that, it felt kind of strange and all that. And after the first 2 weeks, I kind of withdrew back into the space, and I'm happily settled into my space again, ready for the whatever comes, And
Nice.
I have nothing definite. I really have no definite plans. I'm working on a couple of scripts. That's it.
We'll ask you that later. No, we'll ask that later. When we ask you what's the future post-COVID.
Oh, okay.
We're still waiting for Roysten. He's having some technical problems, so I have to fill his 5 minutes. So basically, I think we all spend time reflecting and reimagining and rethinking what we want to do and where we are. And like you said, I kind of enjoyed being home too, garden. But I never cleaned my mess. My mess is still there. 3 months, books, everything piled up. I keep saying on tomorrow, and it never came. And then I just keep myself busy.
I think I think it's really, wonderful, because I also, you find the things that you can do, but then there's this other part of me, I go, well, we're very fortunate. I have been working, which I'll tell you later, with a group of ex-homeless women, older homeless women. And it's brought me into the thinking of, obviously others. And I just go, well, phew, we are very fortunate. We have a place to be. We can do all these things. And I'm with you, you do all those things you've always wanted to do. And then I go, like around the world, the lockdown has really been very difficult for so many people. And I feel almost, it's hard to reconcile. And that's the roller coaster of it really brings you to your own self and your own thinking and your own values, and the roller coaster of a sense of humanity. So yes, I'm really happy I can do all these things. And the other half of me goes, I feel really, I'm not at ease about, all these people when they've got no home, what are they doing now? How are they being cared for? And I find that hard.
No, I think it's made all of us rethink, and you see all these images of good side of climate change when we're not going outside, and rivers being clean and animals running around. And I'm working on a project on making women's sanitary pads, reusable sanitary pads. Talk about pivoting from the arts, But I think it makes you want to think about what you can do. Okay, Roysten's here. What you can do and how you can help the world. And you're not alone here. It's not about me and you. It's about so many other people. And 1 second. Okay, Roysten is here. Roysten, are you?
Give him time.
Okay, okay. He's coming on. Hi, Roysten.
Hi, Roysten.
Hi.
Still no sound. Hi. No. Okay. Okay, David, you've got. Yeah, you got. Okay. Okay, we'll carry on. David's going to try to connect with him. So basically, I've spent my time reimagining things and all that. And actually, I called Roysten and we were talking about this. and he was a bit apprehensive about joining because it's scary when you hear everybody going on webinars and putting things online because they're just scared. It's the first thing they know what to do, But I think we did this for a different reason. We wanted to do UNCUT so that we can actually share fears and rethinking, like to think it's not about you alone, and you're not alone in this fear. Everybody's afraid, And we wanted big names, small names, real people. So we picked real people up the whole list, And that's why, like, it's nice to hear what you all said. And like Teong Hin, you being very candid about, yes, my mess in the house. That's what we want to hear because you're normal. You're not just this big famous film director. You have mess in the house and you haven't done your laundry for 3 months. That kind of stuff.
Not 3 months.
Or something like
Joe,
that.
Just to add to what you and Deborah were saying, I mean, of course, we keep hearing everybody talk about a reset for everyone, a reset for the world, and we talk about a pivot and all that. But actually, the most critical thing is actually a distillation of, it gives you an opportunity to really think about who you are and what you stand for. And you reach out for only the essential necessary things, because when you survive 2 months locked in, you realize that actually you don't need as much as you imagine you do. Yeah. You actually, it kind of works quite well. The minimum social interaction aside from the phone calls and all that, and the necessities are actually to get you through, and even when the lockdown was partially lifted, I find that I turned to places that you trust, because I mean, between a restaurant that you don't know and a restaurant that you trust will be hygienic or safe, you will go to the one you trust. I mean, so I'm in the sense, as part of the conversation, I'm glad that you're turning to us who have worked with you before to do this.
Trust.
Because we trust each other.
It's a comfort level. I know that. Okay, hold on. I think
hi, Roysten.
Hi, Roysten.
Okay, finally. Wonderful. Sorry about this, guys.
Okay. Nerve-wracking for me because I have to fill 5 minutes and I don't know what to say. No, okay, welcome. Thank you, Roysten. I was just telling them how when I first called you, you're probably the last one that we got on the list because you were a bit apprehensive, and I know why. It's a lot to think about, not just the technology part, but do we really want to do this? I feel to him because Roysten, when I asked him, when I first started Georgetown Festival in 2012, we were losing a lot of money, and he came up to me and said, Joe, stay on course, and if you keep on doing this, someday they'll take notice. And he's been like my big guru all these years. So even me wanted to, no, you have. So, okay, that's Roysten Abel. He came to Penang with Manganese Seduction, and then The Kitchen, and lastly with Manganese Classroom. And for me, he's been my sifu because when we brought Manganese Seduction, I wanted Malaysians to see how he worked with tradition and how he packaged it into a contemporary platform for people to view. Okay, Roysten, my first question to you. Where have you been this last 3 months? You look as if you're in a really nice place. Where is here? And where have you spent 3 months, 4 months? And what have you been doing? And were there any fears?
No, see, I've been here. I've been in this lovely small village in Kerala, here in the south of India. I kind of got here on the 10th of March, and we got into a lockdown on the 20th. And I managed to get my daughter in by then. And, me, my wife and my daughter, we haven't spent time together since, this much time from the time I can remember. So, and, this is like even after all my work and touring and everything, this is the place that I come back to. This is my house. And it's probably one of the most beautiful places. And we have a very outdoor life. So, and it's a very inspirational place. So, so I've just, I personally believe that when you've gotten into a lockdown or in a situation like this, it's just probably a clue for you to say that, I think you just need to stop and, look inward. And for me, this has been just that. So I have no fears, no complaints. It's just that, people are struggling with livelihoods in many parts of the country, including, people close by. And so I've just had to, be in touch with them and figure out a few things. But personally, I think this is a time that, I've just used for myself.
It's wonderful.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And seeing you smiling, and this is something constant with even Ricky Pa and LCD and you, Teong Hin and Deborah. All of you didn't latch onto your work or your ego or your fame, and you were so comfortable either with your home or your loved one or your family, and really relished the last 3 months just doing that, instead of worrying about, oh, what's going to happen to my career or my fame or this big project that I did. Oh, we lost Roysten again.
Hi, Roysten.
Oh, Roysten, come.
No, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Roysten. I love seeing your smiling face. Because yesterday, I was so touched by people smiling, even you, Teong Hin and Deborah, that instead of looking sad and worried and all that, people were smiling and happy and shared really happy 3 months as opposed to be morbid 3 months. Okay, my next question, we'll start with Roysten first because he escaped earlier. What is it that you're eating? May I have some? Roysten, what are you eating?
Yeah, sure. It's a banana walnut cake
eating?
with some vanilla ice cream.
Oh, wow.
That sounds really, really nice. Okay, my gin tonic. Okay, how do you think the pandemic has affected the theatre industry in India? For India,
it's that way. It's a total shutdown. There are so many struggling artists. And there are many help groups that are working to help these people individually. India is, I don't know this, it's funny, but the Prime Minister is trying to make an announcement. He's trying to rush the clinical trials and everything and try to get a vaccine out by the 15th of August because it's our Independence Day and he wants to make this big announcement. And yeah, it's also a very politically charged atmosphere here. So people are thinking that, the vaccine is going to come out in whichever form by the 15th of August. And by the end of the year, people should start getting to do things, going back to the theater, because without the vaccine coming out, there's no way that we're going to go into a theater. Nobody's going to come in and watch our shows. And you can't even rehearse. And, all this, unfortunately, social distancing cannot be applied to the kind of the things we do, unless we try and figure out a new way of doing it. But I don't know if you want to take the soul away. But no, theater is going through a very, very tough time. But so is the whole world. I mean, it's just not with theater. It's with everybody from a carpenter to, everybody. See, it's all very linked because the economical situation is so bad that nobody has any money to do anything. So, and like, I don't know if you've seen, the migrant labor in India. I mean, these guys have been, the saddest of stories where people have walked. It's like 100, 800, 900 kilometers and then run over by a bus or a vehicle 50 kilometers before they reach home. So amongst all these tragedies, yes, have you seen this? I don't know if you've seen this anywhere, but our government bought out a thing which is about, what are the, like essential commodities, like there were essential professions. And
yes.
and we didn't just...
You can't beat Singapore with that. You can't beat Singapore there.
We didn't make it either here.
No, but I mean, it's wonderful that, hearing you say that, and it's not, you're not just so engrossed about your work, but talking about everyone else's have the same issues. Food on the table. Deborah, what about you? What's happening in Australia? In April, when I heard the Arts Council cuts for dance companies that I know, I thought, oh my God, shocking. Yeah. That's in April. And now COVID back to back. What's happening there?
Well, we did have that, but not just to dance companies, a lot of smaller companies or a lot of cuts. So they lost all their funding. So that started off quite a difficult time for artists here. And then, of course, COVID. And, all the theatres have closed down. We still are closed. We're not open. And, I mean, the thing is here is the bigger companies, they still have their machine going and people can get paid. Of course, the independent artists, one of them, me, it is more difficult because we don't have that infrastructure around us. I mean, I have a company, but it's not like that. The independent artists here have been hit very hard. So, with the theatres closed, we work project to project, which I guess a lot of, I'm sure maybe it's the same with you. So,
everybody, yeah.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. So apart from the big companies, we work project to project. 1,000 years ago when I first was starting off, I did belong to a company here getting full-time pay in Sydney. It was I was in the dance world company there, but, that's long gone. So we don't have that, But so, yeah, the project, and as I said earlier, oh, okay, this project gone. I see it amongst all my colleagues. And, Roysten, I agree with you. We can't, the social distancing in theatre doesn't work, because of, but I have to say, the thing I was thinking about, being an independent artist, as you know, Joe, I've worked a lot on site-specific work, out there. So I do believe, and actually read an article that, the bigger companies, because it's going to take a long time before they can have a mass amount of people back in the theatre. So, okay, why don't we rethink? And I think maybe the bigger companies might do this. Maybe they need to take, a leaf out of the page of us independents, ones who've been working in different ways, and go, well, actually, we can't be in the theatres. Maybe, the big companies, the Melbourne Theatre Companies or whatever, Sydney Opera House, we can do things outside and do things in a different way. So maybe that's going to happen. So, or maybe that's a way of thinking. But, because there's going to be, this year's, it's not going to happen. Most companies have cancelled the whole year in terms of the project. But, we can make things happen in different spaces. I mean, we can make things happen, say, go somewhere and do it and site specific, because you can actually social distance people there and have that beautiful experience of the performer. I don't know, I think...
But my only thing is, how do you social distance the audience?
You can't, but maybe you can on an outside. I mean, how beautiful. I mean, have you seen that image? Beautiful with seats all around somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, to me, beautiful. And what an interesting way to explore ways of viewing as an audience. So you're not sitting next to someone, but you're over there. I'm here, there, and you're viewing.
But on a large scale.
I've seen nice images.
Yeah,
a large scale. But did you see the images of the Opera House with plants in the seats? Have you seen that circulating? Yeah. Beautiful, yeah. But would you really want to sing to a room full of plants?
No.
Would you get energy and you dance? Yeah.
Other spaces. This is why I'm saying that. The other spaces.
No.
It's a beautiful image for film. That is a beautiful image for film.
Image is stunning. I think it's a good message out there. But I'm old school. I want it to be back to normal. I can't imagine any rock singer singing to an empty field of people.
No,
it's not the same filming it or online. But audience spacing. We need to rethink. So Teong Hin.
Yeah. Oh, my
maybe touch base a little bit on maybe theatre or films, if you feel more comfortable about talking about the industry in Malaysia.
Okay, actually, I think most people are familiar with the Malaysian art scene, theatre scene in particular. It's actually not very big, nor particularly robust. I mean, yes, we have a lot of productions that go on throughout the year on a shoestring basis. So at the best of times, the theatre scene limps along. You know, there are one or two companies that are kind of sizable that maintains its own premises, but everybody else is usually independent artists or companies. You know, in this time, it's really dire, and there's some government incentive that's available, Joe, as you know, but. How long is this going to carry on? Like what Roysten brought up earlier, how long will people stay away? How long will it be before it's safe for people to come to the theaters? I don't know. And nobody knows. So there's no real prognosis except that it's a bit bleak. You know, I mean, and to add to what Deborah was saying about this outdoor space, I'm all for site-specific work because that's what I do as well. I like to do as well, prefer that over a theater thing. But when you mount a site-specific work, it's quite a big scale production normally. And because of that, the cost is high. And if you have social distancing in the crowd, it's kind of hard to justify the production, you know? I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I would love as much as you to be able to continue doing what I do. But the reality in Malaysia, especially when there's no appetite for high ticket prices, is...
everywhere, my friend.
Okay, hello, Carola.
In Australia, way too high. Let me tell you, ticket prices for theatre are way too high. This is a good thing. They might have to go down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You know, then how do you make productions work cost effectively? Like, okay, you hear stories of West End and Broadway closing down to 2021. That's the scary part. But let's look on the bright side. Look at what Taiwan or Shanghai is announcing, the Shanghai International Festival in October, and already sending out invites. They are really, really thinking positive. Whereas the rest of the world is like, oh my God, when are we going to open? It's quite scary, but I think in time, I hope all this shall pass. And I hope we don't have to dance or perform. Yeah, go on.
Joe, the thing about those instances that you mentioned is when there's government backing. If there's a will of the government to continue to force to save the situation, then it can happen. But otherwise, I mean, honestly speaking, even in film production, there are some contracted television work that's continued. But for the same amount of money you're paid before the pandemic and now, you have more things like socially distanced transportation. A bus that can carry 20 people now can carry 8 or 10, you know, and you need more buses. And you have to have on-site testing, and you have a health worker, a nurse or what on-site to test. All that adds up, as well as insurance, extra insurance for the people who work, COVID insurance for the people who work on the project. So same amount of money, much more items to cover. It's really, I don't envy them who are working, you know, I mean, everybody is doing their best, but I guess, yeah, there's nothing much else we can do. Yeah.
Or like Deborah says, maybe think small, think local, think regional first as opposed to bigger regions, you know? So everybody has to think inward as opposed to outward, because you're not going to get tourists, you're not going to get people from outside, and your ticket prices has to be affordable for people around you. So, I mean, even me, I had to rethink about what I could do here in Penang with elements around me, you know? And I think you're right about the government thing, Teong Hin. It's difficult. All governments, whether you're in Australia or, except that you hear good news from Germany and France, everywhere else around the world, is shockingly difficult for all artists. So it's not unusual. Malaysia is not unusual. Australia, I mean, like, you think Australia that we look up to, Deborah, and suddenly we hear you've got grants are cut, and you have only like one minister who's not even pro the arts. So it's not unusual for us, or in India too, you know, Roysten. Okay, my next question. I think you touched this a bit, Teong Hin, but let's start again, right? What have you planned for post-COVID? Is it, if you got something on your card, a project? You know, I love meeting you, Roysten, because I remember when you were thinking of Mangania Classroom, you talked to me about it, and suddenly, poof, 3 years later, it came out. You know, so what have you been planning? Tell us some exciting new things that, inshallah, it will come out.
Okay, so before I get into that, touching upon the previous thing, I think like if you like, and the clue is if Shanghai Festival is planning to open in October, and as you know, the clinical trials in China with the vaccine has reached right now they're experimenting with the military there. So I have a very strong feeling, because all these governments are suffering hugely economy-wise, they're all going to fast-track this vaccine business in whatever form, and it's going to come out very soon. And because it's more than a humanitarian concern, it's an economic concern. So they're going to fast-track this, and they're going to do this very soon. You might have side effects 5 years later, 6 years later, but then something's going to come out very soon. And the other thing to it is, I'm very hopeful that this COVID situation, I think the arts are going to see a huge boom, because everybody will be so craving for something real and soulful. And we'll all have to be ready to do things then, and probably there would be another resurgence of the arts in a very, very different way. I mean, that's how I see it. That's how I feel it's going to be. Rather than looking at the grim, which is obviously staring at our face right now, but I think there's going to be something much more hopeful at the end of it. As human beings, as in total, there has to be something better than this. And so
that's a Shirley MacLaine song.
They're counting on it.
That's sweet charity. No, do you have a project? Are you working on a project?
No, I was supposed to start shooting. We're making a film on doing a feature film on the Mangania Classroom, and I was supposed to start shooting in October. Oh, cool. And so as you know, it won't happen in October. Yeah. So I was supposed to go into pre-production when the lockdown happened. A 4-month pre-production. If it depends if we get our vaccine by August, September, and if we get another 4 months of pre-production, Jan, I should be able to start shooting. But inshallah.
Yeah, okay. Unless Trump buys up all the vaccine in the world for America. And the other thing is...
He's got $1 billion each in 4 companies.
Yeah. No, the other thing is that the Renaissance came out of a tragedy. I think the Renaissance of the arts came out when, after the pandemic, you would see it, right? True. Okay, Deborah, any interesting projects? You mentioned something about a Jewish project you were working on?
I do, but I just want to say, Roysten, I so agree with you. I think there's going to be, a desire for people to come back to have that human experience. I do believe it. And you're right, in the dark times is when we have to create. And the creations we think differently and innovation happens. I really believe that. And we are human beings, we need that human contact. So I so agree. And I really have that positive feeling too. So I have a couple of projects. So one was, I've been working, end of last year, I did a show I directed with these mature ex-homeless women. And it was this beautiful, very visual, very experiential piece, and did really well. And of course, we had a couple of things which had to be cancelled. So I'm still working with these women. So we've had, when we were allowed to be unlocked, they came over and we had a meeting. Now we're relocked. So actually tomorrow we have a Zoom rehearsal with everybody because we're back into our lockdown. So I'm hoping we will develop this piece. However, as we've just said, that in this time, I've also had ideas of how to expand this piece into a bigger piece, really, and a visually filmic bigger piece where, we have the theatre, we have the women, we have the visuals, but I also have a whole sort of very huge visual filmic element of it. So I'm working on that. So, we see because the idea of this piece is about making these women who have been visible. And it's not about their experiences when they were homeless. It's actually a very hopeful piece and joyous and wonderful because the theme of the piece was I am here. So I have had now these visions of filming them in the middle of Melbourne or whichever festivals. We have their big faces on the billboards and everywhere around. So, that's what I'm working on now. And hopefully also a documentary out of this. We're actually in the very beginning stages of making it into a documentary. So that's a very huge, very heartful project of mine. And, that's happening. Lockdown or no lockdown. So I've got, I'm going to expand it out. And also because I do believe, after all this happens, the homeless situation is going to be bigger. So the resonance of this is important. So, that's a major project. I've also been working on this dance piece with this young dancer, and I'm going to be dancing as a mature woman dancing in this piece. So we started working on that. And then, of course, we got into lockdown, but we're hoping to develop that now for next year. I don't know. That's been quite a beautiful ongoing.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah.
Inshallah. And you, Teong Hin? Next big thing coming up.
I was saying earlier, I was coming off a year sabbatical when the pandemic happened. So actually, I have nothing in the works. I was just starting to think of projects and all that, but this being at home and being this isolation has given me an opportunity to really focus on what I want to do, just that. And I've started researching and writing things that I can do on my own at this stage. And hopefully by the time I finish, I don't know when, things will normalize. And then I'll be able to aim as high as Roysten and Deborah. I would love to do a film again, Roysten, as well. But film takes time and takes a lot of money. A big group.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So
I've been working on this film for the last 4 years. That is after I got my producer.
Roysten, for me, generally, each film takes me about 7 years gestation. So I do 5 to 7 lah. I juggle a few in the air and see which one lands first. So in between, I also do theater. So that keeps me going as an independent, I guess, director.
Same story.
How is it? You're 27 and you've done 5 films, Teong Hin?
I've done 6. I'm actually 28.
Okay.
I'm not.
I missed out a year.
Don't listen to
it. A short break. A quick hello to Yijuan, who wants to say hello to you, Deborah. She was the one who was helping you. Sean Ludasami, who claims he's in Malaysia, but he's actually living in Singapore.
Yeah.
He says hello, Teong Hin.
Hi,
Corey and Con from Australia. Hello, everyone. I'm enjoying this. And Sefer from Iran says hi. Okay, a question from Sean. Personally, as a producer, I've seen ticket prices plunge for 20 years, and he's based in Singapore, making it hard to make decent profit. I think everyone around the world has struggled with the same, whether you're running an opera, a dance, or theater, ticket prices and the ability of the wanting of people wanting to pay. I think it's a constant struggle. I don't know whether there is, how we're going to overcome that. And then Therese Crosby, who's been our biggest fan, who's in Melbourne now, who's watching and says, thinking of you, Deborah, as you speak, thinking of Ida Reza's performance. She's actually the biggest supporter of Georgetown Festival. Every year, she sees all the shows and tells everyone about it. Okay, another quick question from Australia. I'm sure you all have fabulous future plans, but in the meantime, do you have other skills for survival that you would like to advise? I'm curious to know how you'll cope with this book. Have a good bank manager, marry well. Anyone with a quick 3-word advice how to cope with this survival skill?
Denial, denial, denial.
Okay, I'm going to say something. I think Darwin said this: survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. Actually, times like this, it's not the strongest that survive; it's those that are cleverest at adapting. I think we all need to learn to adapt, and then you'll survive, hopefully. And the other thing is, inshallah, or drink lots of gin. Okay, we'll move on to like the last question. Roysten, you're one of the first few people I always call when I needed advice all these last 10 years. And I told you that the next project I was going to work, hopefully, was something called Festival of Asia. And the next question is, did you enjoy coming to Penang, and would you come back and work with us?
Of course. To start with, what a lovely place, what a lovely town. And great food, a fantastic host, and so I think it's beautiful, and to see another culture is always very exciting. But then, and to see a little India in Penang, which was the shock of my life, but it's unbelievable. It was like, India, Tamil Nadu in India in the 40s or in the 50s, which is, there in Penang right now. It was quite amazing just to see that, over there. And plus all the lovely food, I've had with you and my friends who live in Penang who took me around. I mean, one of the greatest places for food in the world.
Oh,
and, yeah. And for you, for a small place like that, to get to do a festival, like this, hats off to you, Joe. Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's basically because all of you helped me. Like I was telling even CD last night, and even you, Teong Hin, all of you bent over a little bit backwards by helping me either with your budgets or even Mangania. You had to lower the stage because of the size. No?
No.
Oh, okay.
That is one thing we never do.
Okay. No, but the site of the Manganias in Penang, all the turbans, everybody took pictures, And the nice thing was that one of the requests was that we needed to supply beer bottles. I shouldn't say this publicly. Anyway, okay. But what I wanted was like, when I was planning to think of a show called Festival of Asia, Roysten, I felt as if you were the master of taking tradition and putting it into a contemporary packaging for a new audience. It's hard enough to get audience for the theater, but to put something as traditional as the Manganias on stage, or the traditional art of cooking in the kitchen and putting on a stage, I've always wanted you to inspire Malaysian theater makers to do, hey, this is what you could do with traditional art forms and bringing it to a world audience, whether it's Lincoln Center. I remember reading about Mangania Open in Melbourne. That's when I first thought I have to have the show. So if we do have and make a festival back in Penang, I would really like to invite you back. Yeah? And please say yes.
It'll be a pleasure.
Now,
we'll come running.
So I can record this and hold you this. Okay, Deborah, you next. Again, like I said, we met in many places. You were trying to tell me that you had 2 shows, and I kept saying yes, but I never programmed it. And then suddenly, 2017 we had a show, and then 2018 we had a show, right? Now, would you come back and would you help us plan? Because Penang is a small island. We don't have facilities. We don't have huge budgets. We don't have proper theater. So, like you said, site-specific, you're fine with that. Would you come back and help us?
Well, firstly, I loved my experiences there. You are, seriously a beautiful festival director with your warm spirit. And in fact, I found everybody there, like beautiful Yizhuan who just said hello. I mean, how wonderful, and David. I mean, I think everyone was so generous and that made it a special experience. And yeah, I do site specific. And so in a way, the festival is perfect for my work, you know. And as we said earlier on, the second year I was there, we had a venue which fell through really towards the end. And at the last minute, we found the perfect place, the two-story old Chinese shop front. And it was perfect. And everyone was like, great, let's do it. Let's put it in. And the spirit, you know, that doesn't happen. No one got upset. No one, you know, had some, you know, ego thing. No, not at all. Like, let's just get it happening. And I love that. And the audiences, I just want to say the audiences there are just wonderful. They really engage. And then they came back to the second one. And I felt they, you know, they're following you and they want to know what you're, you know, the understanding of the work, because my work's very visual and it's not your typical play. So yeah, no, I really loved it, and I would absolutely come back. And actually, one of the special moments I want to say of being there was when, Joe, you took me that day. You said, "Have you seen the Jewish cemetery?" I went, "Jewish cemetery in Penang?" And you took me that day. I know, it was, I tell you, one of the most special, personal, gorgeous moments. And yes, I want to do that show, our cemetery show. So yes, I will come back and we can do that. But I will come back without question, without, you know, no question.
Well, I would love to work with you, but the Jewish cemetery project, we have to tread very carefully because I'm a Muslim, and in Malaysia, it would cause an international incident. But inshallah, yes. You know, I love that cemetery too. We shall work. Teong Hin, anything? Would you come back? I mean, like I said, you started Georgetown Festival with us. You know, it was very difficult. Budgets were not sure, and then, you know, the town hall wasn't the best of places, but you stuck to us. And then there was Silan. Again, God help us, we could have ended up in jail with dead workers and dead performers. And then High Kisin-Law, like what a fabulous end of my 9 years, you know, of having High Kisin-Law there, you know. Would you come back? Would you work with me? Would you work in Penang? Would you help us?
I think it goes without saying, Joe. I mean, I'm from Penang, and Penang will always have a special place in my heart. But more importantly, I think yourself and your team and all that, anywhere that supports, let's say, alternative voices or alternative content, you take huge risks. You took huge risks with me all 3 times, you know what I mean? And I will forever remember and be grateful for that, you know. I will for sure come. Yeah. Anytime.
Okay,
just let me know. I'll pencil it in now.
No, please. Festival of Asia.
Free for some reason.
You know, I'm sure you know this, Teong Hin, but you know, for 2,000 years, Malaysia was trading partners with India and China, and we were selling elephants to India, Roysten. So it's time to bring back. Yes, we were selling the smaller size elephants to India. So Penang was the center of it all. Everybody came through here. I need to just say hello to Alejandro Galvez from Switzerland, who sends his greetings. King Nemo says hello to you, Teong Hin. He's in London. So you obviously have a fan club. And Sean Ludasami, I want to come back to Penang and do more for Penang. Time to move home. And this one woman I have to thank, Freda, who lives in South Africa, who also came back every year for the festival. And she was so painfully shy that she would never come to any of our after parties. She would never take any free tickets. She would never be, I invited her to any of the shows. She wouldn't, she'd buy all the tickets. And she said to me in one of the shows, she said, you know, I stumbled upon the festival and I've been coming back every year for the last 5 years and spends the whole month in Penang. And that's because you all came to do all your shows. And I think that's why Penang became so magical for a lot of people. It's not there because we don't have fancy halls. It smells, but everything is a show. No, the food, the people, it's a nice place. It's a small little city, you know. And it's magical. I decided to come back. I decided to want to do something here. So that's why we thought of this idea. And I'm reaching out to all of you that help me think of things that we can do together if you have a project in mind. But Roysten, yours is Festival of Asia. And I want Mangania back because I think I have to see it again in Penang with a bigger audience from everywhere else, you know. It's one of the shows that stick in my head as the ultimate show that I want to show best of Asia. And Teong Hin, you and I have to work on a new one. A new one that's the pride of Malaysia, you know. And Deborah, we have to work on something else. Maybe
I think
we need to sit down and have coffee, maybe in Penang or Melbourne, and think of little ideas of how we can work. But basically, thank you for coming on board. Wait, hold on. Thank you for coming on board, and you know, hold on, Nazli Tabai from Scotland. Isn't it wonderful? People are checking in from all parts of the world. I don't know half of these people, but thank you for joining me, because it was a personal journey, this UNCUT. I wanted to share my fears. I was terrified the last 5 months, and we don't have a project. I needed to think of ideas and projects, and I wanted to inspire myself. And calling all of you back, it's actually very inspiring for me, because it means that I can think of, oh wow, he wants to work with me. They like me. I can work with him again, you know? No, it's true, because you don't know. And it's very touching when all of you with big names and big careers want to come back and help us in Penang, because we don't really have that scale of Kuala Lumpur or the scale of Melbourne. But it's a nice little island. You'll enjoy your holidays here. Yeah? And maybe come during durian season. Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. I think we've hit our, is it the 1 hour now? Okay, we've hit my 1 hour. No, I got 4 minutes. I'm running out of things to say.
You want anyone to answer questions?
Okay, any more questions? Okay, last words from you all. Maybe we'll start with Roysten. Any last words?
You know, I actually had something in my to say, and then it kind of just slipped away because you said you're winding up. So, I mean, I so badly wanted to say it. I just think it's for all of us, we will be there will be this point when we will all be looking forward to doing things with a new outlook, and it's going to be a turning point, and I think we should look forward to this turning point. I don't think we should fret about not being able to come up with something right now, or not being able to figure out a project right now, or to not being able. I think, like anything else, if you've given time to just step back and look, you might as well take it in. You might as well take that clue from the universe, and don't fret about not being able to do anything. I mean, probably this is a time for us not to do anything, or even the thinking will come later, or the reflecting happens, and the thinking and reflecting will happens automatically. You can't escape the mind and the works of the mind. So that happens, but something will happen. And the thing is, I think the basic thing is not to panic about what's going to happen in the future.
Yep.
Because ultimately the future will take care of you.
Well said. Deborah, any parting words?
I continue on that. Yeah, the trust, and you're an artist, you create. What else do you do? It will happen. It doesn't go away just because the world goes crazy. In fact, I think it goes more. That's all I want to say.
Teong Hin, any?
Yeah. You know what? It just occurred to me, Joe. What would be really marvelous is that if Festival Asia, we do 3 of us do something together. Deborah and Roysten.
Yes.
Oh, you laugh. Just say yes. That'd be interesting. It'd be quite mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it'll work, or whether it'll work, or it's just a thought. To pull in such disparate people, or different people, and throw us together and see what comes of it.
Right.
Joe, strangely, in March, about the mid-March, 15th of March, I got a call from Shanghai, of Beijing, and this was our cultural attaché from Beijing, saying that, Mr. Abel, would you be willing to do 5 shows in China? I said now, because that's when, you know, it was like, the COVID was like really hot in China. I said, no, we won't be able to come now. And she said, no, it's not now. It's because of this. You know, it's actually the 75th year of India-China relations. And so we would like you to come back in 2021 in the beginning and do 5 shows here. And now we have a war going on between India and China. So you can imagine.
Dynamics will always change, you know, dynamics. But Teong Hin, maybe that's one reason why I brought it up with you, because in this last 9 years, the person that actually paralleled my vision about where we wanted to go with the arts and how crazy was you. You made a really good co-pilot about dreaming. Very few people in Malaysia dream the kind of dreams that we dream, you know. So let's share this journey of Festival of Asia. And then there's one last question from Mr. Bruce Head. It would be good for all of you to come back and help Penang do site-specific work in places that are slowly disappearing, whether it's Gurney Drive or old buildings. And I think that's the reason why, Deborah, your work resonates with a lot of people. Those spaces may go one day, you know. Teong Hin, your Fort Cornwallis, that sort of thing. Yeah. But anyway,
what's happening with Gurney Drive?
They've reclaimed the land, so it's not going to be the same.
Right.
More flats.
Yeah,
more brahe rises.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the new normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you all have the rest of Sunday really good well. And like I said, you will hear from me about Festival of Asia. All 3 of you. Yeah.
Right.
Take care. All the best.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.
How do I do this?
Okay, don't say anything off camera, Teong Hin.